this meeting of New Iberia City Council to order. We have the prayer and the pledge led by Councilman David Merrill.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Natalie Roban.
Present.
Councilmember Peggy Durack. Councilmember Robert Swear.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle.
Here.
Councilmember David Merrill.
Here.
Councilmember Raymond Lewis. And Councilmember Calvin Bagnell.
Here.
Mayor Curry, you have the floor.
Thank you. At this time, we have public comment. I would ask everyone to please put their phones on vibrate. I don't believe that any cards have been completed.
No, ma'am.
So we'll move on. Public comment time is an opportunity for the audience or anyone in attendance to make comments concerning agenda items. But there are no forms that have been completed, so we'll move on to agenda item 2, which is acceptance of the minutes of the April 19th meeting as published on, August 19th, as published on Thursday, August 28th, 2014. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle. Second by Mr. Bagnell. Is there any discussion? Any objection? No objection, motion carries. Persons to address the council this evening is Ms. Ty Porter Green. She's here to announce her candidacy for the 16th Judicial District Judge Division G race.
Good evening. Thank you. Mayor Curry, members of this council, Attorney DeQueer, and assembled guests. I am Ty Porter Green, and it gives me great pleasure to announce to you, this elected body, my candidacy for the 16th Judicial District Court Division G position. Some of you are familiar with it. I know that you all have been getting much education in all of the different judicial races we have, but this is Division G, and Judge Porter will be retiring at the end of this year. So a bit about me. I've been practicing 20 years. I started my career in Jeanerette with the firm of Simmons, Pittman, and LeGros. We had a general law practice, so I kept myself busy with family law cases, divorces, child custody and support, creating wills, trusts, successions, also personal injury work, workers' compensation, as well as some criminal work. During that time in private practice, I also began what I call my public service work, where I was appointed to represent children that had been abused and neglected and were in foster care. I did that until 2004 when I left private practice and I joined the Public Defender's Office. So as a staff attorney, I worked in Iberia Parish and St. Martin Parish, and I represented adults that had been accused of abusing and neglecting their children, as well as adult criminal offenders. In addition to that, I worked juveniles that had been accused of commission of crimes and school offenses. And I did that until December 28th, 2005, when I was commissioned as an assistant district attorney. And I have been doing that since that time. I work in St. Martin Parish, and during my time as an ADA, I've served as a sex crimes prosecutor, as well as I head up the juvenile division. So in the juvenile division, we do everything juvenile. We prosecute young people in between the ages of 10 and 17 that have been accused of commission of crimes, juveniles that have school-related offenses, non-payers of child support, we prosecute them as well, parents that have been accused of abuse or neglect of their children, and finally I also serve as the prosecutor for the St. Martin Parish Juvenile Drug Court. So the question gets to be, how is this varied experience that I've had over the past 20 years, how is that of any significance in my campaign for judicial district judge? So the answer I would give rather to that question is, know that I bring with me to my candidacy experience working with broken families. And know that I bring with me experience working with people whose circumstances present them in court, most times at their very worst. And know that I bring with me a sense of humility because I recognize in some of the stories, there but for God's grace go I, or go someone in my family. And it's given me a great deal of compassion and understanding that everyone is entitled to respect, no matter what their circumstances are, but respect and accountability at the same time. So it is through this work and the fact that for 3/4 of my 20 years of the practice of law, I've been a public servant, that I bring all of that with me to my candidacy. And I'm so excited to share that news with you all today, the elected leaders of New Iberia. So I've been visiting neighborhoods across the district. You know that we cover St. Martin, Iberia, as well as St. Mary, and asking for the support of the voters after I've told them my story and shared some information on us. And so today I'm asking that same thing of you all, your consideration and hopefully your support. Are there any questions? Yes, sir. I know Mr. Lewis from his bailiffing days when you kept us all safe in Iberia Parish. Yes, sir.
I'm glad you pointed out, because that's a big, in these minority races for me, respect of individual. I don't believe the bench necessarily needs to be used as a bully pulpit. Respect of individuals. If an individual comes before you, they've done a crime, they admitted they've done it, they've been convicted of doing it, sentence them, leave them with some dignity and integrity. That's my comment. My question is, are you gonna be a judge we're gonna see every 6 years? Or will you be accessible to the public on only the things that you can discuss? Because I see, unfortunately, we see some of our judgeships every 6 years.
Well,
Now-
I'm sorry, you were still,
No.
okay. Before I became a candidate, I was a community servant. I can go back to when I was a Girl Scout leader, when I was a cheerleading coach. I served on the SNAP board for 6 years, serving as the president. I'm very active in my church parish, St. Edward, St. Jude. And those are just the things that are on the top of my head. So all of that happened before I was a candidate. I have no doubt in my mind, yes, you're going to see me, and it's not going to take 6 years for you to see me, because that's who I am. I was raised by a public servant, by a community servant. I'm a community servant, and I'm raising my children to be community servants. Because the reality is, this is home for all of us, right? And the people that unfortunately end up in court with real complex issues, they are still community members. And so it's very, very important to me that all of us as elected officials remain accountable and accessible to the constituency. But in terms of as a judge, I'm glad you did bring up one little nuance of distinction. There are specific ethical rules that prohibit litigants from being able to come in on one side and speak with the judge. It's just prohibited. It shouldn't happen, and none of us want to be in that situation where we have to worry that the other side is speaking to the judge and your side is not represented. So first and foremost, I know that I'm going to follow all of the ethical obligations that I would be mandated to as a judge. But in addition to that, and I find as a prosecutor, people and families that I've prosecuted still call Ms. Green when they have questions. And what I have learned is what they really want is information. And so to the extent that I have learned and developed a knack for helping to navigate systems, I will continue to do that because that's who I am.
I appreciate your candor and your answer, because as a public servant, we're done. I don't believe, I know I won't. None of us up here will violate the ethicals because we're held to a high standard. But I know as a public servant, I'm accessible
All right.
to people.
Accessibility
Anywhere in the
is
city,
key.
Anywhere in the parish, anywhere in they call me from, I like to talk to people, so.
Very
thank you,
good.
For your presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, I also asked the same to some of the other people that were looking to run for the judge position as far as our problem with the juveniles. You spoke about juveniles, dealing with them, court system and all,
Yes.
but unfortunately, we have no housing facilities for juvenile, like they
You're
used to have in
talking
St.
about a
Martinville.
detention? Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And not just really detention. I'm talking about detention and rehabilitation. Because if you're gonna put them in detention, you should be able to rehabilitate them to be able to come out here to try to not go back into the same situation.
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is, for a long while now, we haven't had that type of situation here, housing for it. Lafayette still has it, but we don't have the opportunity of being able to deal with the situation like what we have here. A lot of juveniles go to jail for robbery and stuff, and they come right back out. They go to jail, they come right back to their parents. And unfortunately, in New Iberia, we have a serious problem with break-ins and homes and everything like that. And the majority of them are being done by juveniles. So my question to you is, what you think we ought to do to go forward to be able to deal with that situation?
The reality is, and this is one of the exceptional parts of juvenile law, the reality is when you are working with juveniles, you're working with the totality of them. It's not just that child that sits before you or stands before you. It's their parents, it's their guardian, it's whoever it is that supports them. And so what I know to be true and what I've come to learn over my years of experience is if the community resources that are in place are not working, that's where our problems really lie. The Children's Code speaks of the hierarchy when you're talking about placement for children, and I don't mean to go too far into it with a law explanation, but first and foremost, depending upon what the crime is, the first placement is supposed to be least restrictive, and so that means at home, in their communities. And so when they're home, they're supposed to have resources, if it's mental health, if it's drug abuse counseling, if it's tutoring for their education, they're supposed to be able to get all of those resources at home under the supervision of a probation officer. What I have found to be true is while resources exist, some of them aren't very good. And so what I've tried to do in St. Martin Parish is just like we're holding our young people accountable when they're on probation, we hold them accountable. They have judicial reviews, the judge checks to see what their behavior is, and that's what the judge is focused on. I, as a prosecutor, have also been mindful of making sure that our community resources are doing what they say they're going to do. We get many progress reports, and I read them and vet them to make sure, okay, you know, you're supposed to be the curfew checker. How thorough are you checking to make sure this young person is where they're supposed to be? You're supposed to be providing mental health counseling. How many contacts are you actually having with this young person? And so that's one thing that we as community people should have an interest in, making sure if you are you have within your circle of influence young people and you know that they've had some contacts with the law or with the court system, check to make sure that everything that's supposed to be happening on probation with them is happening. Because that's how I think our children will be as successful as they can be. That whole notion of it takes a village to raise a child couldn't be truer today than it was before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Mr. Wright?
A lot of the questions I wanted to ask were asked and you answered. I love the way you answer the question. It seems that you're gonna be a judge that's easily accessible to the people, because people have problems, sometimes they need to talk to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
judge or so forth and so on.
Yes, ma'am.
Since I've been in my seat, I've been able to, with some of the judges, sit down and talk with them and have a conference, and with the parents of the children, especially the children I'm speaking about. Some children really deserve, all of them, but deserve to be saved. You know, a repeated offender, and I'm glad to say that they would have help even when they're at home on probation.
Yes, ma'am.
And they would have rehabilitation for these kids. Because putting them into a penal system sometimes worsen the condition of some children.
Correct.
Certainly.
I think, if I'm right.
Right.
Some children put with hardened criminals, you know, they learn bad habits. And I think you sound like it too. And I know you, well, we belong to the same church, and I've seen you working in the church parish, you seem to be dedicated. I know your little family and your mother. And if you follow their footsteps and continue on, you're gonna do well, young lady, and I'm gonna
Thank you.
pray for you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peggy.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time to come
Thank
here
you.
this evening.
Thank you, and thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank
Have a
you.
good meeting. Madam Mayor, I have another obligation and ask to be excused.
Certainly.
Thank you
We
very much.
understand. Thank you for
Have a
being
good
here.
meeting.
Thank you. The next agenda item, well, Mr. Miguez is unable to attend this evening, so he will not be here. The next agenda item is a proclamation for Suicide Awareness Month. We have two individuals here this evening. I'll read the proclamation and then I'll ask them to come up so that I can give them to them. We have Miss Cynthia Elmer and Miss Ava Richard here this evening. Mayoral proclamation, whereas nationally suicide is one of the most disruptive and tragic events a family and a community can experience. And whereas in the United States, a person dies by suicide every 16 minutes, claiming more than 32 lives each year. It is estimated that an attempt is made every minute, with close to 1 million people attempting suicide annually. And whereas suicide is the fourth leading cause of death in the United States among adults ages 18 to 65, the third leading cause of death among teens and young adults, the 11th leading cause of all deaths in the United States, and individuals ages 65 and older account for 16% of the suicide deaths, whereas 50% of those who died by suicide were afflicted with major depression, and the suicide rate of people with major depression is 8 times that of the general population. And whereas suicide does not discriminate by gender, economic status, race, or ethnicity, as the highest risk for suicide is among the survivors of those who died by suicide or those who have attempted suicide. And whereas suicide prevention has been declared a national priority by the President and Congress, and whereas public awareness of this terrifying problem is the key to preventing further suffering and loss of life, and risk for human self-destruction can be reduced through awareness, education, and treatment. Now therefore, I, Mayor Hilda Day Curry, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the City of New Iberia, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2014 as Suicide Awareness Month in the City of New Iberia, and I do urge all citizens to work to prevent suicide and raise awareness and tolerance around all people affected by this tragedy by observing this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and community walks. And I'd ask Ms. Elma and Ms. Richard to come up so that I can present you with a copy of the proclamation, and I don't know if either of you would like to speak also. Would either one of you like to make a comment? Okay, thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and citizens of New Iberia. My name is Ava Richard, and I represent the Carl C.J. Richard Jr. Memorial Scholarship Fund organization. The death of our son, C.J., to suicide has had a great impact on our lives emotionally. Dealing with the death of a child is not easy, and especially in such a tragic manner. It has been a year and 8 months. However, it seemed like it was just yesterday we lost him. Granted, going through the stages of grief does not have a divine order. As parents, it is hard for a heart to heal after the loss of a child. At any rate, we try to gain acceptance. In our process of trying to gain acceptance, my husband and I founded this organization in November of 2013, a nonprofit organization to honor and create a legacy of CJ. Suicide. Just the thought of hearing the word would make one retreat just to avoid the subject. It took me a while to become comfortable to speak on the subject or even to acknowledge the fact that that was how my son died. When asked how my son died, I used to respond saying he took his life, just to keep from saying the word suicide. Then as time progressed, I would respond by saying death to suicide. The subject was hard to discuss. However, through my son's death, I want us as a community to be able to discuss this subject without attaching shame or embarrassment. Suicide is not a choice. It is a choice my son happened unto while struggling with his pain to live. We hear the word suicide. We do not understand. We do not see, and we do not reach out. From my experience, I want education and understanding. If the subject come up, as parents, we need to address it, as well as school officials, staff, faculty, pastors, clergymen, sponsors, coaches, anyone who is a part of that child's life. I feel, though, through my experience, I was not too inviting to involve anyone else, or in that matter, everyone in my son's struggle. I feel if I have shared more about his struggle and having more knowledge of the warning signs, maybe, just maybe, but God knows best and his will was done. So now through our organization, CJ's memories and spirit will live on, not only as a polite and fun-loving person, but as a giving person as well. With the giving heart CJ had, we would like to continue giving through the heart of our angel. It is our mission to give back to the youth in our community by assisting with post-educational expenses through our scholarship program, which we were able to award a niche graduate a $500 scholarship this year. It is also our mission to support and sponsor our youth school, church, and community programs, and to promote suicide awareness and prevention within the community and our schools, with our vision simply opening our minds, eyes, and heart to teen suicide. In our efforts of recognizing September as National Suicide Prevention Month, our organization would like to invite the mayor, the council members, and the citizens of New Iberia to join us to pay tribute to our son and to those families that have lost a loved one due to the tragedy of suicide on Saturday, September 6th, with a suicide awareness 5K run in New Iberia City Park, following with a candlelight visual Wednesday, September 10th, World Suicide Prevention Day at 6 o'clock in the evening in front of City Hall. On behalf of the Carl C.J. Reshaw Jr. Memorial Organization and myself, we would like the support of the mayor, the council members, and the community. Thank you for your time and allowing me to speak.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you
this
very much.
evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me talk to y'all. I'm Cynthia Elmer, and I've been involved with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention after my son died by suicide. I've also lost 8 other family members to suicide in the last 4 generations. So I'm an advocate for mental health. Representing Louisiana, I go to Washington, D.C. to get policies changed on mental illness so that everybody will erase that stigma of suicide. You know, it's a mental illness just like a brain illness, heart illness. It's a brain illness that can be prevented. I invite everybody to the Out of the Darkness 8th annual Out of the Darkness Walk at Girard Park, October 18th. And we come together to support the ones that have lost loved ones to suicide. And I'd love to see y'all. I know Calvin comes every once in a while. I would love to see all of y'all come. I'm also getting ready to get a training for first responders, how to react to somebody with mental illness or suicidal tendencies. I've heard so much about somebody going to jail and they have no training on how to react to this. We're also in the progress of forming an American Foundation for Suicide Prevention chapter in Louisiana. And if anybody would like to donate to our cause, you can go to outofthedarkness.org on the computer, and we'd be glad to see y'all at our walk October 18th. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you. The next agenda item is an appointment of Miss Edwina Bell to the Planning and Zoning Commission to replace Miss Fran Hadnot.
Motion.
A motion by Mr. Merrill, second by Mr. Rack. Is there any discussion? And Miss Edwina is here. I'm sure you probably all know her. She's in the back over there. Yes, Mr. Lewis?
I attempted to make the motion, but that's okay. I would like to say, Ms. Bell has been living downtown in District 5 for many years. She comes well qualified. I know she was on the Board of Adjustment, still may be able to multitask. She's very involved in our church and community. And she comes as a welcome choice, considering my friend and somebody she knew very well, Miss Fran Hadnot. I welcome you and appreciate you even applying. Because in these times, very few people want to take on one task, let alone multitask. And just a volunteer role with the government. Thank you.
Mr. Swear?
I'd just like to thank Edwina. I know Edwina, and all I can tell the board is to get ready. She's the shaker. Thank you for coming aboard, Edwina.
I have to echo, excuse me, what Mr. Lewis and Robert said, because Edwina is an advocate of whatever she gets involved in. She bring it to the max. Someone asked me, can she fill Fran Hadnot's shoes? I said, no, she can't, but they're gonna run neck and neck, because Edwina lived in District 5, and at one time I thought she lived in District 2. She's all over the place. She's a good person. She's an outstanding church member, and she's an outstanding constituent and citizen of New Iberia. She would be a great improvement to the board. And Edwina, welcome on, and do a good job, as you always do.
Yes, Mr. Merrill?
Yeah, Miss Edwina, I've been knowing her since I was a young man. Her and my mother were very close, and her mother, who's still alive right now, looking well. And I appreciate working with you with the small board also, but I've been knowing you, even though you live in District 5, you are also all over the place also. We went to St. Edward's together, so we go back a long way, and I definitely welcome you to the board, and I appreciate all the dedication that you do in the community. Thank you.
I don't think,
Council members, and I'll do my best.
I don't know that we really have to take a vote. It looks like everybody's voted, but I'd ask you to please vote your machine, so we'll have it on record. Thank you so much, Edwina, for offering your services. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. The next agenda item is, we have a copy of your budget that we've submitted to each of you. It's pursuant to Section 502 of the Charter. Your operating budget has to be presented to you, and we're gonna set for public hearing on October 21st, 2014, in the City Council chambers at 5:30 p.m., ordering said budget to be published in the official journal 10 days prior to the date of the hearing. We will have budget meetings on September 9th, 23rd, 30th, at 5:30 p.m. So, Madam Clerk, I think we have a resolution.
Yeah, that was a form of a resolution.
If you want to read it.
The resolution is a resolution setting a public hearing, October 21st, 2014, City Council Chambers, 5:30 p.m., and ordering said budget to be published in the official journal 10 days prior to the date of the hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bagno. Second by Mr. Swear. Is there any discussion? Please vote your machines. It's a procedure we have not done in the past. Thank you. You have your budgets, review them, and we'll start our budget meetings on September the 9th. There is a little bit on the consolidated budget. I think that Ms. Segura wanted to just tell you a few things concerning the consolidated budget.
The consolidated budget is included in the budget book as well, but I went ahead and I made just a separate copy and put it on, and placed it on the top of the book for y'all, if you just wanna refer to that. I'll just kinda go through the totals. For fiscal year 2014, 2015, the proposed budget includes approximately 35 million in revenues, approximately 40 million in expenditures. We have other financing sources that'll be coming in of approximately 3.5 million, which is gonna offset that difference. The 3.5 million is gonna come in from the DEQ loan proceeds. So basically what we're left with is approximately $2 million in excess of expenditures over revenues. Basically that amount is attributable to the road project. Those bonds were issued back in 2010, 2011, and possibly a little bit before that. And we still have a little bit of money left over that's proposed in the budget to be spent on that road project. We're gonna finish fiscal 2014 with a fund balance of approximately 14.8 million. So then our ending fund balance at the end of fiscal 15 will be approximately 12.7 million. Just to kind of go through a couple of, well, with respect to 2013, 2014, we haven't had a budget meeting in a couple of months, and we'll probably just finish up with doing the actual projections and the funds. Just a couple of comments with respect to that, and basically where we've left off with the last budget meeting that we've had. All of the departments are staying within their current budget levels through the work of the mayor as well as the department heads. You know, we monitor those levels. If there's not money there, we don't spend it, you know, from that respect. In the city's general fund, if you recall, sometime back, probably around May of this fiscal year, we did amend the general fund's budget, and we actually had an operating deficit because we were making a one-time transfer to that debt service fund. After I went through all the projections, the deficit is actually going to be very, very small in general fund. Even with the deficit portion that we had projected with respect to the fire reserve, because those positions weren't filled, that is basically, it's actually, they'll have a small surplus with respect to the fire reserve. Looking forward to fiscal 14, fiscal 15, the ad valorem revenues, I use the current values of the assessed values that we have from the assessor on hand. So it's possible that those assessed values may be a little slightly higher when the actual roll comes out later this year. The big question is sales taxes and what's gonna hold true for the remaining 3 months that we have left to collect. So far, we're less than 1% higher on our revenue projections. I've actually anticipated a decline in the sales tax revenue just to be on the conservative side. So with the anticipation that, you know, if it's more, our budget will look that much better. Sewer user fees, we also do have the CPI that'll take place in January of 2015. With ad valorem taxes, sales taxes, and the sewer user fees, we are accounted for approximately 67% of our total revenues. So the majority of that is all covered there. Cost of living increases as well as longevity pay increases have been included for all city employees. The payroll-related expenditures with respect to the increases in group insurance and retirement have all been included. All of our debt service expenditures have been included. And the majority of the capital outlay that is included, there's a small amount that's included in this proposed budget, is basically just carryover from the prior years, finishing up. And the majority of that is associated with the DEQ consent decree. And that's pretty much it. So we'll, I guess, talk some more the next couple of Tuesdays.
Ms. Segura wanted to just give y'all a basic overview, but we're gonna delve much deeper into each department at the meetings, at the budget meetings. Each department is assigned, and the schedule is in your book.
It's in the book.
It's in the back, right?
No, it's at the front. It's on, it's the last page
It's on
before the
page
front tab.
6. It's on page 6, and it's these dates and which departments will be, budgets will be discussed at those meetings. So, You have some time to go ahead and review your budget prior to those meetings, so that's probably it.
Yeah, can I
Sure.
ask a question? She mentioned about our last budget meeting was how long, about 2 months ago?
Approximately.
And you always gave us that projection of where we at in each department. Is there any way we can have that before our
I'll have it
next
ready for
budget
next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I've been busy preparing, the budget books and
Yeah.
all that. The July financials are actually ready. I need to just print them and get that, so I'll have that ready for next meeting, for the
For our
budget meeting.
budget meeting?
Mm-hmm, for the budget meeting.
Is there any way you can, if we got to email it to us before the meeting?
The little summary sheet?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll get it to those of you that don't email.
Thank you for getting us a good budget.
Oh, I did want to make that comment too. I was able to actually double space the report, so it made it a little bit easier to read.
She said today she did that for Mr. Swear. Thank you, Ms. Segura. And I want to commend Ms. Segura on the job, and also the staff that works with her in the business department, Margaret and Cedra, Rachel, Cynthia, and Mabel helps out also. I mean, they do a tremendous job, but Kimberly has been a wonderful leader, and she has just really done a great job over the last 2 years. So thank you for all your hard
Well,
work.
I tell you what, thank you very much for my old eyes, as I can see them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next agenda item is a resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution declaring certain property as surplus and authorizing disposal.
And you have a list in there, really, everything in there it's file cabinets and old pieces of, equipment that are no longer usable. Any file cabinets that we have or any metal will be, Mr. Leroy's gonna have to sell. Mr. Lewis made the motion and a second by Mr. Bagno. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Well, let's vote on machines. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next agenda item, Madam Clerk, is a resolution.
A resolution authorizing use of city facilities October 10th, 11th, 12th, 2014 to the Greater Iberia Chamber of Commerce for the World Championship Gumbo Cook-Off.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lewis and a second by Mr. Bagno. Is there any discussion? Okay.
It's here.
I'd ask you to please vote your machines.
Did she leave?
She's here, I'm gonna ask her to come up. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Ms. Falk Gonzalez, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would just like to say thank you. Really appreciate that affirmation and acclamation of a vote in support of the World Championship Gumbo Cook-Off, and I just want to make sure that everybody realizes that this is the 25th year. So we've been doing this for 25 years now, bringing about 40,000 people downtown for lunch on Sunday, and it's quite an event. We've got a great band lined up for this year, and so we're looking forward to another great year, and appreciate the support of the city, the mayor, your support, the council support, and certainly the support of your department heads. So many of them work so closely with us to make sure we can pull off a safe and clean and happy event. So thank you for all that.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all that you do for the city. We appreciate it.
Jeff?
Yep.
Quick question.
Ms. Roban?
Because people are still asking me, do y'all have any spots left, or y'all totally booked? Because people are asking me a lot for Saturday, and I'm telling them, well, if they're booked, you can find someone who has a spot for Sunday and isn't using it on Saturday. Maybe you can go work a deal with them. But I don't know, what do you have left? Do you have anything?
You've really put me on the spot here because today was like the day. If anybody's
Okay.
holding on to a packet or needs one, if they can call us, first thing in the morning. But we're going to print very soon, and we like to have everything all organized and planned for that. So we're going to have as many booths as we had last year, I believe, about 92, over 100 gumbos, 700 community service hours to pull it off. It's, again, great event, lots of involvement. So thank you, Natalie.
Mayor.
Send it my way.
Yes.
I wanna
Mr.
take-
Bagno?
It's been a wonderful 25 years, and we've got people from all over the country, and actually even out of the country, have come to this gumbo cook-off, and great PR for our city. And my sister-in-law told some of her friends, and they've got 3 motorhomes coming in from Houston for that weekend. They wanna see what it's all about, because they've been hearing about it. So, I mean, it's just the word about this gumbo cook-off has spread throughout the whole community, and it's just a great family event, and that's what's so nice about it. It's a great out.
It's wonderful to hear how many families are planning reunions around it, how many kids come back from college to participate. We have companies that are doing their employee appreciation days around Gumbo Cook-Off. So a lot of different companies and organizations are leveraging the event in a lot of different ways. And again, it's all fun and good for the city, so.
And it's put on by volunteers, so anybody who would like to help. we could use some
Absolutely.
help.
Oh, and Ms. Roban, we definitely have volunteer positions available. So
I'll be
anybody
back.
who can't get a booth, we got room for them to volunteer, that's for certain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next agenda item is agenda item 7C, and it's a resolution.
Resolution indicating the intention of the City of New Iberia, State of Louisiana, to become a participating political subdivision in the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, approving the appointment of a director to represent the City of New Iberia on the Board of Directors of the authority, and otherwise providing with respect thereto as provided by Chapter 10D of Title 33 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950.
We have a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Merrill,
Second.
second by Mr. Bagno. What this is LCDA. It's an subsidiary. LMA had, at some point, had formed this organization. We've issued bonds through LCDA at some point in time. We're not issuing any bonds right now, but you have to renew this application every 2 years. So it's time, it's a formality, and that's basically what it is.
I didn't know what it was. I was like, I don't know what this is. Are we building something? Are we trying to
bonds
buy
to
something?
LCDA, and actually, if you, some of you were here when government consultants came in. Government consultants works through this organization free of charge. They came in and evaluated our finances, if y'all remember. So that's what this organization is. So I'd ask you to please vote
And
your
it's a
machines.
2-year term? So
Every
when
2 years you
when
have
our
to
term
renew it.
ends-
Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item, once again, is a resolution. Madam Clerk?
Resolution awarding bid for sewer pumps for the period September 1st, 2014 to August 31st, 2015.
Motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bagno?
Second.
Second by Mr. Doyle. What we're doing with this, and Mr. Palumbo can come up and give you a little bit more detailed information if you want it, is we're getting 6-month bids to repair the pumps. Much like we do with those other 6-month bids, it makes it a lot quicker and easier to get the repairs done when we've already bid out for certain materials and so forth. I don't know, Mr. Palumbo, is there anything you want to add? No.
Is this only for parts or is for pumps?
Brand new acquisitions, replacements.
So we're still taking the same type of application and everything, right? And when they bid the project, it still comes to the city council for us to approve the bids? Or-
No, this is your approval. We solicited quotes for the pumps that we need. We have 75 pump stations. Each of those pump stations typically have 2, if not 3 or 4 pumps in them. So it's kind of onerous on us to have to go get 3 prices every time we need to replace a pump. So we're just doing this all right now in one lump sum. We send it out to all the vendors, put it on the website, said if you have this pump that you want to supply to us, give us your best price now for 1 year. So we don't have to go get 3 quotes every time we need to change a pump out.
So we have a 6-month, no, it's 1 year, so in 1 year, they have to honor the price that they
That's
give
correct.
to y'all.
That's correct.
And so at that point, y'all note the low bidder, right?
That's correct.
And it doesn't have to come to the council. But it has to come through us, through budget, to
It's-
allow you to have the money to buy it?
It's accounted for in our budget, right? I have to plan, obviously, this is preventive maintenance type stuff, not breaks that we don't anticipate, right? But even if we have that now, we can get a pump pretty quick, and a lot of these pumps aren't on the shelf pumps. They have to be constructed.
So this could be multiple vendors, not just one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's, I
That's
think,
what I
6
wanted to
different vendors, 6 different brands of pumps that we use in the city right now.
Okay, that's all I wanted. Thank you.
These like grinder pumps or just
Before things got
pumps?
too
Everything.
expensive.
All the pumps.
Grinders, suction lift, vertical, the whole 9 yards.
In the old days, before things got too expensive, that's why you used to put out bids for 1 year at a time, so everything we bought, you know.
Right.
They just quit buying, they quit bidding on it like that, 'cause prices was changing too fast.
They do change a lot, and we didn't know if we were gonna
You
get
can
prices.
them bids for a year, that'd be good to lock it in for a year.
It is, it's very good.
That's a good
We
deal.
were lucky. It worked out well.
Okay, well, I ask you to please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Palumbo. The next agenda item is another resolution, 7E.
A resolution to dispense with the Tuesday, November 4th, 2014 City Council meeting due to the November 4th, 2014 statewide general election.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Merrill. Second. Second by Ms. Roban. Is there any discussion? Please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next resolution is 7F, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with LawCo, indemnifying the city for their use of any city properties and consenting to return any such sites to their original condition for a term of less than 24 months, specifically from August 31st, 2014 to January 31st, 2015.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Swear.
Second.
A second by Mr. Bagno. And just for the public's information and for those of you that maybe weren't aware, this LawCo is getting ready to do the work to upgrade the system so that we can continue to maintain our 2 rating when the rating bureau came in. So they asked to stage equipment on Washington and St. Peter near the library and at the old sewer plant. So basically, this is a whole harmless agreement also giving them the opportunity to use that property so that they can get the work done as quickly as possible, because we have 6 months to get it completed in order to comply with the board that does our inspections. So I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item is another resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution of support to the Iberia Parish government in their success in obtaining grant funding in the amount of $185,000 from the Louisiana Capital Outlay Program for the Pepperplex baseball planning and construction.
You have a
So
motion?
moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle, second by Mr. Lewis. Any discussion?
Mayor, I just wanted to explain that you sent everybody about our capital outlays, and you mentioned that Representative Barra and Mr. Senator Mills said the best way to do these projects, if the parish has one going on, go ahead and send a resolution in supporting their project, and it's much easier for the state to recognize the project, and much easier for the city to get the support behind something. Likewise, if we have something that the parish wants to get behind, instead of going with 2 different projects or 2 different grants, it goes under one, but the same cause, just showing the support through the parish for the Pepperplex for this item.
Correct.
Thank you.
So, I'd ask you all to please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously, and we will send a copy of this resolution to the delegation. Introduction of an ordinance to set for public hearing on September 16th. Madam Clerk?
An ordinance fixing the terms of the sale of 140.81 acres, 107.81 usable acres, more or less of industrial land comprised of 14 separate parcels located within the confines of the Port of Iberia, Iberia Parish, Louisiana.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Doyle.
Second.
Second, I'm sorry, who was it?
Mr.
Merrill. And basically, for the public's knowledge, we need to set the ordinance for public hearing and publish once in the official journal. And this is for the possibility of the sale of the property at the port. Mr. Swear?
Mayor, what was it appraised at when y'all got the appraisal?
I think it was 4.6.
4 point something.
I think it's right at 4.6. 4.65? 4.65.
We had 4.1 something.
And they want to give us right close to 4.2. 90% of the appraisal. Okay, if you vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item is property standards, and we have Mr. Landry. And it's 720 West Avenue, and we need to remove it because it has been demolished. Motion to remove 720 West Avenue. Mr. Rack, you want to make that motion?
I assume.
Motion by Mr. Rack, second by Mr. Doyle. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. The next agenda.
Good
Thank
report,
you.
Jimmy.
The next agenda item is a discussion to amend the food truck ordinance, and this is by Councilmember Natalie Hoban.
Yes, okay, when I first drafted this ordinance, I mean, I know y'all probably remember, but we were just very unfamiliar to the whole food truck idea, and it was just a whole new ballgame. Well, when I originally drafted it, I was very cautious as to what time we were gonna allow them to set up in the morning, because I didn't know how many trucks were gonna come. I didn't want all kind of chaos and confusion in the downtown area, because I knew that's the area they would be most attracted to, because that's where we have, heavy foot traffic with work and, all the different shops downtown. So in the ordinance, I put that they could not serve before 10 a.m. Now, since we've been a year and a half going strong with this, and I feel like we've been real successful. We haven't had an outrageous number of food trucks, but when they do come, they're received very well. People really do enjoy them, and we've recently had a truck partner up with 2 new chefs who want to do an art doing pastries and coffee. Well, that started going, and then I got a call from somebody, well, what about the time issue? So we, looked into it, and I told them, y'all have to hold off until we get this thing straightened out. So that's the only change that I'm looking to make, is just to allow them, I was going to push it to 7 in the morning to allow them to be able to serve breakfast, coffee, and pastries. I've spoken to quite a few residents. I won't name the name, but the restaurant who serves the most breakfast in town is fine with it. And I think that goes a long way downtown, because they were, that would have been my biggest concern, and they were just fine with it. So I don't see a problem. I haven't had any negative feedback, and I want to just make sure that you all are comfortable with us adjusting that time frame to allow them to serve breakfast. And if you are in agreement with me on that, I would like to further it's going to take about a month for us to do the ordinance and get it passed and get everything, get the time officially changed to allow them to serve breakfast in the interim period. So just thoughts, comments, questions.
I got a question.
Okay, let's see. Mr. Merrill, then Mr. Begno.
Okay, I'm quite aware of what's going on, but I see that some people in the audience, I know they're involved in this. Is there any way we can get them to come up and give their opinion on what they think as far as...
Yeah, I
You
asked
see
them
what
before
I'm
the
looking
meeting
at?
if they wanted to talk, and they told me they'd let me go and see how it went.
Because I'm fine with the time thing, but my thing is this: they're the one doing this. So I think we need to be able to know what's the best times, if they're cool with, those times, to better their business.
Yeah, well,
I'm
they
fine
were
with that.
they were starting at 8, correct? So if y'all were at 7, okay. But y'all can come on up.
Well, I think we need to do a motion and
do a
to
motion.
allow them to speak, because this is not normal
Yes. Okay.
procedure.
I'll make
We
a
need a motion by Mr. Begno, second by Mr. Merrill. Is there any objection to allowing individuals to speak concerning the food trucks? No objection. Okay. If you just state your name, please, when you approach the podium, so we'll know who you are.
Elizabeth Shinsky.
Chef Gregory.
And Ashley Millett. Okay, so.
What had actually happened was these two opened up at a little library and a art gallery around the corner, and wanted to open a brick and mortar. We're talking about a food truck type thing. I had some space on the back of my food truck, and just basically paying it forward, letting them come back there free of rent. Basically, I decided I was going to let them serve coffee and the European pastries in the back of my bus. So I was coming in at lunchtime normally from 10 to 2, doing a great business here in New Iberia. New Iberia residents love us down here. We're not trying to infringe on any of the other businesses. There's more than enough for everybody here in town. And basically, when they restarted it from 7 until 10 or 11, breakfasts were going great, And then Ms. Roban contacted us later that there was a complaint about it, which we immediately shut down from that point on, respecting the law until Ms. Roban could get us here in the meeting to speak about this. But their business dropped 90%. From the time we came back from 10 to 2, and we've been doing it. I'll go ahead and let you speak.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, it is bad. Now I can't, I have 2 little girls that I have to go to babysit, and we were making enough money to where I can get them in there, get my name out, and just start a capital in order for us to actually get out on our own. Because right now we're starting from just our own pockets, putting money towards my goal, her goal, and then with the profits we were making in the mornings, it was actually benefiting us. We were making profit. I was able to pay my babysitters and put more money into the business. Now that we have to start at 10 and not at 7, I'm making maybe $20 a day, maybe. And that's in the time frame of 10 and 2, and I still have to pay my babysitter.
That's why I wanted to
yes.
come up, because I wanted to find out if, I don't know, but I'm just saying, you say possibly it might take a month. That's something I want to find out, if there was some way they can have some type of temporary.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. If everybody is
For
if
them
we
to
don't
be
have
able to
any
do that.
issues, if everybody is feeling like they're going to be in favor, until we can vote on the actual ordinance change to temporarily just
They
have a
can still
motion to
make their
temporarily
money,
allow
you know,
them
until that time.
to
Can we
operate
do
in the
this?
morning.
But legally,
I'm
we
gonna
can do
defer
it.
to
Say-
Mr. DeQueen.
Yeah, I was
Just
gonna ask
let
him,
him-
yeah, special use permit or something?
There's no enforcement provision in the law, so it's difficult to tell you.
The tax department and our compliance
Right.
department are the enforcers of it.
Right.
So if we don't want them to
Right.
Yeah.
harass
Yeah.
them, I think that they'll support
I
our
think
wishes
that
if the
this-
mayor's on our
If
side.
this council votes, if we just do a resolution in support of allowing them to open at 7, and with the intention of changing the ordinance, but having to go through the proper procedures.
Right.
If you want to do that, you have to amend the rules first to allow the introduction of the
Okay.
resolution that's not on the agenda. But
Absolutely.
you can do that.
Okay, well,
So I need a unanimous vote to expand the agenda?
Well, no, it's
on the
It's on the agenda, we just have
can't-
to.
It's already on the
no,
agenda, though, huh?
It's on the agenda,
The
but
discussion of amending the ordinance is on the agenda. What she's asking for is
The
for a
resolution.
resolution
To amend the agenda.
Yeah.
to amend in the time it takes to amend the ordinance for the next
For-
month.
so we
Okay,
just need a
before we
motion,
get
a
that.
second, and a vote to allow us to,
Expand the agenda to
expand to do
introduce a resolution
resolution.
to allow you to.
and you really are
do
not
that
supposed to
next
vote on an expanded agenda item unless it's an emergency.
Well, I have a motion.
Well, we can just
Uh,
affirm it, public close out.
do y'all have a, is there any way we can just amend it?
You can by executive order
Okay,
tell the tax department not
Yeah.
to,
I
not to
will.
enforce a provision for the next month, and that would take care of it.
okay.
So we would
yeah.
have to, we would have
Just
to.
don't
We'll,
turn it in.
okay, we will do that,
Right.
we'll do that.
That's what we do every year for the Sugar Cane Festival with the
Okay.
drinking law and all that. They don't enforce it. The firework law, they use fireworks when we amend, so.
Okay.
Special
Well,
use,
if
special
the, if the
condition.
council has no objection, and that's why we brought it to you, because you're the ones who passed the
Right.
ordinances, so I would not make that decision without your support. But if the council has no objection, we certainly by executive order will notify, the appropriate departments not to, discontinue allowing them to continue with their breakfast, and they can start tomorrow morning at 7.
I'm gonna have to come check that out, cause I saw you on
Yeah,
TV
Well,
and I didn't
we
even
just
know this
asked
was
right
going
now,
on.
is there anyone that objects to doing this? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, thank you for taking the time to come here, and
Mayor,
good
my-
luck to you. Where will you be in case we want breakfast?
Yeah, I wanna check that out too.
Right in front of Carabella's.
Okay.
Front of Carabella's on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Good
From
luck.
7 till 2. We go in
Yes.
from breakfast into lunch.
Good luck to you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I went on Alamo Dog.
Today,
Today? It was great. We were busy today.
he was.
Why is that?
I said, I thought y'all would be.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
spot y'all, I couldn't turn around though.
Oh, you good?
I'm
No, we were just doing the lunch though, and the thing is, it's basically, it's hindering their
Pulled pork.
business.
What's
My
y'all
business,
serve?
it's fine. Pardon me?
What were y'all serving?
I do, just a lunch business, pulled pork, organic hydroponic salad that we get out of the co-op here, out of New Iberia.
Right.
Caesar salad, shrimp wrap, when I get fresh shrimp from Delco, I mean, it's a beautiful product.
Mayor, that's one thing I want to comment on. That's going to be my comment. Is I've gotten a lot of support for them, phone calls on them, but they do use local products.
Yeah,
in
the
their
coffee
food.
that
So
I
that's very
use-
important.
The coffee that I use is actually locally roasted at Rev in Lafayette. He's the closest that we have here, but it's all from him. So.
With our product, as much product as we can here. I actually am based out of Lafayette, I have a restaurant, of course, in Lafayette as well. But I actually buy my petrol here. I mean, I spend $600 to $800 a month in diesel and gas, and, you know, as I'm operating a generator, you know, just running back and forth, and, you know. So, I'm spending more time in New Iberia here basically to support these two, to whether they can open up their own restaurant, you know, which I may go in with them on it, you know, and have a cafe with coffee and, you know, the whole 9 yards.
We need some more restaurants here, so that's a good idea.
It really
is
is.
key.
A lot of people are complaining because of the simple fact that the food trucks are doing so well here. I do so well here. It's because of the shortage of restaurants here.
Right.
You've got great restaurants here, don't get me wrong, but there's a limited amount of them, and people want to try something different, you know?
Exactly.
So,
Thank y'all very much.
thank y'all very much for amending that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is announcements. The city council meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 16th, the next one. The next neighborhood watch meeting will be in Ms. Roban's district on September the 11th at Dasford Elementary at 5:30.
Yeah.
And a motion to adjourn. Yes, ma'am.
That's all.
No, you had something?
Yeah. No, I wanted to just announce, I should have called, but due to my health, that we had a lock-in, the Princess Lock-in in the Western Park, and it was a great success, and we want to thank everyone who donated and participated. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Motion to adjourn.
Hey, Calvin.
Motion, second. Calvin and.
You don't
Stop playing.